Your earworm for today brought to you by Hanson, because seriously, where's the love for Donald Trump? Live and loud at the U.S. Open's men's final, President Donald Trump drew choruses of boos when he appeared on the Jumbotron to salute the crowd for the national anthem. The crowd reaction, mixed with cheers, there were some applause, but mostly a lot of loud not applause, played out audibly during the ABC ESPN coverage despite the stadium's hush etiquette. Now, here's the thing. They were asked, that was the networks were asked to keep it down, keep it quiet. Don't show any bad tidings for Donald Trump. They kind of couldn't do that when they just went booing during the national anthem. The United States Tennis Association quietly asked the broadcaster to do this, avoiding any off-court reactions that were linked to Trump's presence, but they really couldn't because it was already a day that was already whacked because the tennis match was delayed by an hour because security. Donald Trump said, I'm going to show up. And when that happens, it gets all kind of crazy. Remember, the guy had 2 assassination attempts while he was running for president this time. So it's beyond politics. It really was essentially the timing. You really can't stop the live action. That's what networks are all about and doing these things because it's there. The boos were in the broadcast because they couldn't get rid of them. On top of that, it's, fan security, people being asked to wait for the start of it, booing the outside from the outside because of frustration of delays. It was an all-boo affair for Donald Trump on this Sunday. Trump responded to boos with smirking salutes because he's Trump, but remained mostly still and reserved for the remainder of the match. The public's mixed reaction is something that you accept in these things. There's a whole lot of folks in the Democratic-leaning city of New York to basically boo him. But at the same time, there's people who support what he's doing in general and just him as a person. And it's just what you do at sporting events. You boo folks. Even in tennis, you boo folks. The moment highlights a tense balance between broadcasters facing the pressure to event organizers to limit the political noise. But when the politics shows up unannounced or very much announced and slows things down, it becomes what happens. Viewers saw through this and they booed anyway. Raises questions about editorial independence and whether viewers deserve to get the full unscripted picture, even when it gets a bit controversial. Let's talk about transparency. Viewers got to see the real reaction to Donald Trump. No one turned down any sound. No one did anything else. They didn't actually boost her at anything. It wasn't something that was, brought up or brought down. It's what happened. Trump showed up. He waved to the crowd because, hey, the president's here. The president is semi-unpopular, mostly unpopular, and they got the boos. The broadcast didn't fully yield to behind-the-scenes pressure because they wanted to be political. At the same time, it overshadowed the sport moment, which is already overshadowed by Donald Trump being there. But it also made the sports moment, the actual final of the tennis, a great match to watch. A little less of the issue, a little less of the spectacle, a little less of the reason why you're there. Well, it's the reason why Trump was there, but it was what was there. It also puts pressure on networks to basically decide to what it belongs in sports coverage, the sports versus the politics. Sometimes things happen. If a guy runs out in the field and he's naked, you can turn away to odd shots and listen to the commentators talk about it because it's funny. But because of network censors, it's there. At some point in time, those things get on the court, those things get on the field, those things get onto your viewing sessions, and they happen because they're live. We had an issue literally last week at church where a lady decided that she had the Spirit in her, and inside of the worship service, she ran down the aisle and jumped into the baptism pool because that's what she did. She was not the person intended to be baptized, but she got herself in the water anyway. It happened. Oddly enough, we didn't cover it. We didn't catch it because our cameraman turned the camera away from her running down the aisle. It only got her head as she jumped into the frame and a singer going, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And some of the band players laughing in the background. It happens. It's one of those things. You want to try to keep things down. So people who did not see it live did not see the spectacular event. I was in the hallway, so I actually missed it. But these are things you have to worry about, things that happen that are part of the show, if you will. If the coverage is the coverage and people were booing the president, people were booing the president. It's part of the story. It's a big part of the story. It is part of the story because people saw it live. What we'll do with this part of the story, and will it actually affect his actual popularity? We'll all have to see.